Hello, Edson Oliveira here for DNN We have Scott Wilson from .NET Nuclear as well.
Hello?
And the idea here is that at least once a month we get together at the end of the previous month, coming month, and then we talk about the news of what's going on the DNN ecosystem. It might be that we're going to be reviewing some of the news, some of the blog posts that they put forward, some things that we found interesting that we want to share with the DNN Hero audience, and that's how we're going to be doing. Okay, so
but don't forget about the juicy gossip.
you see, even Twitter. I mean, I'm not very active on Twitter. I think that Scott, you are a little bit more active there.
A little bit.
So yeah, I mean, even those types of things of what people are talking about that we find interesting, we'll be talking about that here as well. The goal is to have this as an informal conversation, even though I have some sort of an agenda here. Yeah, so and the idea is that this should not take longer than 20 minutes, so we don't bore you guys to death. Okay, so first segment here that I would like to get things going is about the news. Things that we have seen, things like posts that we have seen. And the first one that came to mind that I would like to touch base a little bit is that I have seen a good initiative from someone called, her name is Beth Fireball, and she is the DNN store manager. I've never seen anything interesting coming out of the DNN store side. I mean, it's usually just products, modules, skins, and that's it. But now it seems that we have some sort of a voice coming from that front as well, and it's nice to see that happen on the on the marketplace of .NET Nuke as well. She came just this past few days with a blog post called the three simple criteria for choosing modules and skins on the DNN store. I agree with all that she said. That I'm just going to recap a little bit here. She talks about pricing, make sure that you have a price point that matches your budget. Maybe don't get too much restricted on that. Maybe, check the features of modules that you are looking at, and maybe spend a little bit more because it may help you. It may the additional features that a more expensive version or expensive product would bring to you may save you time. So consider price, consider the reviews as well. One thing that I would check in terms of reviews is how recent are those reviews. But again, consider the reviews of that product. If the product is new and there's not much reviews there, or there's no reviews, have a look at the reviews of that seller, because that's a good indicator if a new module that has no reviews yet, if it will be well supported and it will be well maintained by the seller. So price, reviews. Now there is she talks about dates as well, and I think that's very important. The only thing is that it's a bit hard or awkward the way that we have to check those dates, because there are two dates that show up when you are looking at modules or skins. One is the date that the module or skin was originally posted. Mm-hmm. The other one is the update date. And the funny thing is that those two pieces of information, they are not displayed in the same page. The updated date is shown on when you are searching on the list of results. And the posted date, which is the very original date, is shown when you are looking at the details. So those two pieces of information are located in two different places. You have to be wary of a module or a skin that has not been reviewed for over a year. A year is still fine, but if it's older than 2 years, there's no updates during that time. I mean, you may consider skipping that one, because again, 2 years is a long time frame, and if we're talking about skins, I mean, lots of browsers came up during a 2 years time frame. So check those pieces of information. If they are too old, I mean, you may want to skip that. If they are quite recent, that's a good indicator that the seller is proactively updating the version. It's proactively working on that product. Do you have any input here? I mean,
No, I mean, one thing that I notice is, and they won't come out, DNN won't come out and say it outright, but I know from talking to multiple people and even just multiple vendors that I think DNN would like for ultimately the prices all to come up a little bit, because the perception is you could buy a $50 module, then everything should cost around $50 to $100, and it's really squeezing the vendors. I mean, understandably, there are vendors that are, like a freelance guy. Like I put a module out on the store when I was a freelance, and so I had very low overhead, so I could charge a little amount of money. Or maybe I'm overseas and again have a really low overhead. I'm just a freelance individual. But it's really squeezing, I think, the vendors that are trying to put out quality products. But so it's really a perception thing. I mean, $50 and $500 means nothing to companies. In terms of buying products. I've worked for both small and large companies, and even the company that I'm working for now, Blue Bolt, which is a very small company, even though we're a certified partner. But we're small, and if there was a module or something that was crucial for our business and it was $500, we would buy it. It's a no-brainer. But or $50, it makes no difference. So those are the type of things I think DNN. I think ultimately we'd like to see all the prices, the whole tide of the marketplace rise up a little bit, because honestly, it invites the perception of the modules on the market. Also dictate the perception of the CMS as well. So if the modules seem cheap, then the CMS seems cheap.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's a great point, Scott. Okay, so and one last point that actually she didn't mention that, Beth, but someone in the comments mentioned, and I think it's very important. I review modules and skins every week, and I bring that point very frequently, is that if you're looking at a module, that doesn't apply too much to a skin, but if you're looking at a module, try to find those modules that have a trial and a demo available, because you want to get a sense of what the module can do for you before you commit to whatever price it is, to that module. So try to find the ones that, I think it's a really good indicator when you see a module that makes a trial period or a simplified version for free as a trial. So again, that's a very good indicator as well. Okay, so that's about it. That's about for that post in particular. Next one here that I want to quickly mention is a post that I saw from Charles Nurse. It's about performance and stability. By the way, all those links will be posted in the video post underneath, so it will be all available to you guys. So this one here, I saw this blog post from Charles Nurse about performance and scalability, and that's just the first post that he will be bring forward. This is just an intro post. There's no technical details there yet, but he's promising to make this as a series of posts throughout 2014, and it ties very well together with what Sean Walker posted the other day on the monthly on the monthly newsletter.
Yeah.
That one of the areas that they will be focused a lot during 2014 is exactly that, performance and scalability. Scott, do you have anything to add to this?
One interesting thing I saw recently, and I try to stay active as much as I can on the community exchange on DNN software, and one that caught my eye was a guy talking about view state and view state issues, right? Lately in my development in the companies I work with, I try not to use any server-side controls that are hard on the view state, like grid views and things like that. I try to stay away from them. And obviously, you could tell where my passion is because of my client-centric tutorial that I put out a few months back. That's what I've been doing a lot lately. So trying to stay away from the heavier server-side controls that can cause view state issues. So what a user was asking was, I'm having issues where the view state is heavy, and in some, I don't know if it was, he wasn't specific, I don't think, but whether it was in core features, I think they're using grid views in some of the listing type screens like user management and things like that. But he just mentioned that and threw it out there. And Cathal Connolly replied and did say that in 7.3, which is the upcoming minor release, the next minor release, they've made major enhancements to try to eliminate and bring down the view state to the minimum you can in a web form. So I thought that was encouraging, and so it's not like it's sometime this year. Some real performance gains I think are going to happen in the next few months.
Got it. Oh, going back to one of the points that you made there, is that you try to stay away from modules that will be very heavy on the view state. But I mean, that's not that simple for a user to find that out, is it? I mean,
yeah. I guess, like you said, the key thing for evaluating a module is a demo, right? And and maybe that's something, a tutorial that I could help with is in layman's term, how can I fire up Fiddler, or even just viewing the page, the view state, it distilled down to layman's terms is just a hidden form input variable that a bunch of base encoded, junk gets put in. And really, I mean, without even sophisticated tools, you could view the page behind, pull out that view state, pop it into Word and see how many characters, or pop it into a text file and see how big it is.
Got it.
So, I mean, there might be some things that non-technical people might be able to do that we could probably help them with.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, that's one thing to write down and store that on our pipeline.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's about it. That's about that post from Charles Nurse. We found that interesting. The other one that I want to bring is the latest release of DNN 7.2.2. I've gone through the list of things that were fixed and things that were enhanced on that release, on this latest release. I mean, nothing out of the ordinary. If we have a look there, it's just about performance, about minor enhancements. Two things caught my attention there, which I think they are, they caught my attention because they are very relevant to, from a UI point of view. I mean, one thing is that the default skin of DNN, the third level of navigation was not very accessible. I've tried before this conversation today, I've tried to create a third level on the default skin, and you could not click it. I mean, it was not on the 7.2.2, it was on 7.2.0, and you could not click on that option. I mean, you move them out, you try to click on the third level, and the menu disappeared. So again, a great fix that they have added to 7.2.2. The other one is the fact that they made the DDR menu, which is the default provider of menus of DNN, they made that touch friendly, so it will behave nicely on a tablet or a smartphone. So those are the two things that really I saw that highlighted, caught my attention on this latest release. Anything from your side, Scott, on that?
Well, maybe if your users aren't familiar, maybe we should just do a quick recap of what was in 7.2, the 7.2.0. So, because it was kind of a big release. I don't know as many people know about it, but the gravity skin being redesigned as responsive based on Bootstrap was big. The module creator, which is, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, the tutorials we have coming up on that. Really the module creator, it's not new, but it's now part of the framework. The users being part of the Lucene search, the site search, it's an option. You can have users being indexed in that. And then the JavaScript library management, which is just part of a video I just released.
Yeah.
And so those are the big ones. But the 7.2.2, like you were talking about, one that came out to me was interesting. I don't know if you noticed this, but allowing host users to set the max upload size. So this affected me just the past week, where users were having issues uploading large files in their DNN instance. And that is because of a little tiny attribute in the web config. Again, not something most people would know how to do other than developers. It was I think it's called request max size limit. You're
Something
familiar
like
with that?
Yes, yes.
Yes. And I think by default, DNN it's 12 gigs, I want to say. 12 megs. 12 megs. But now I think there's a host option where you can actually change that.
Oh, I see.
So that's interesting. Now administrators of the site can actually make the change. You don't have to touch the web config. Assumably, it probably updates the web config for you.
Got it.
And there was one other thing I saw in here. Page URLs can now contain spaces. So ever since they launched the what is it? The new friendly URL provider,
yeah.
I think 7.1.
They integrated the Affinity, isn't it? The Affinity
right.
URL.
7.1. Ever since 7.1, if you turned on friendly URLs, you had to have dashes, which most of the time you're going to have. But now the URLs can now contain spaces. They had to have dashes in them before.
Mm-hmm.
I know. At one point they had early on in either 7.1. They had an issue where you couldn't even put a space in the text box for the page name, and that was really quickly fixed because that's not good. Yeah.
Very true. Okay, actually, great points. I mean, I overlooked those two, but yeah. I mean, so again, this is really all about the DNN 7.2.2 release. Now I'd like to jump to the next segment of this video to what is it that we are posting in terms of our videos on DNN Hero, what we'll be posting the coming month. I just want to start with the video that I just posted a week ago. It's a series of videos, of 5 videos with 7 strategies to troubleshoot DNN. I mean, you come across various different types of problems here and there with DNN. So I've listed 7 approaches that you can take to troubleshoot those problems. Not to fix the problem, but at least to find more details about the problem. 4 of those approaches are for the situation that you have access to the site. You still have access. You can still log into the backend as a super user. And 3 of those approaches are for those cases, that you have a major crash. You cannot even load the website. So that's the troubleshooting series that I have just posted. Next set that I will be personally posting will be focused on some SEO and social elements that you can add to the pages, that you can add to the sites, that will make it more friendly when you are posting a link on Facebook. It's called Open Graph. When you're posting a link to Twitter, which is called Twitter cards. And also, I'll be talking a little bit about micro formats, like if you are doing some reviews of products, it will show like a product review on Google as well. If you are doing blog posts or content articles, you want your little thumbnail to show up on Google search, So this is called within the micro formats type of topics, And also the author tags, which I have mentioned before. But again, those are some of the topics that I'll be covering over April on my next sets. Scott, you have created a DNN module creator tutorial. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, the first it's in March. I'm going to have 2 series, kind of, but they tie together. So the first is going to be on the module creator, which is April. That again, it's been a module on the Codeplex for a while now, but now it's just integrated into the framework. But I'm going to go a little bit more from a developer perspective, where it's like, okay, how do we as developers, why do we want to use this? How do we use this? How do we debug? Because that was one of the issues. And I know you're going to have some questions for me later about who's going to use it, and we'll talk about that. But so that's the module creator. And then there's going to be another video coming out in pretty soon. It's the next one right off the heels of that. So it'll still be March. And that will be on advanced April. We're in April now, yes.
We're coming to April. This will be on the 1st of April.
Yeah, so no, that'll be in April as well. So advanced razor development. This is going to complement, I think, your video, your series is Addison as well, where you did some one on what did you do? You did one on user.
I did quite a few, going through many different scenarios, like how to list users,
listing users.
Yeah, I think that how to create some sort of a menu or a navigation based
like
on the
a
page
dashboard.
as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper. It definitely complements that, and I'm going to show. You know how in a lot of my videos I show how to build what I call a CRUD application, where create, read, update, delete, kind of like Chris Hammond's template. I like to show that in lots of different ways so that people can pick, to show how it's equal and which one, which way you'd like to do it. I actually built that in Razor, believe it or not, the whole CRUD thing in Razor. So that's going to be the first part of the advanced Razor. The second part of the advanced Razor, which is a little more exciting, I think, for developers, is how to combine compiled code, your assembly code, written in Visual Studio, with Razor. So you have the power of debugging and building out, web API classes, whatever you need in a module, but then the quickness of being able to whip up a module on the front end and being able to integrate some of those powerful controllers and classes and entities from your compiled code into your Razor module. And I think that's where we're going to get people's eyes are going to open up and go, oh, yeah. So I actually can use this maybe in more of an enterprise context.
Got it. Okay, so now, again, you briefly mentioned there, but I want to touch on that particular point. When I look at the DNN module creator, and I'm a developer myself, I don't see myself using that too much, to be honest with you. Unless I want to do something quick with Razor, that's when I want to use that. But I don't see myself using that much. I mean, let me put it this way, I don't see a hardcore developer, a hardcore module developer using that DNN module creator too much. So who do you think is the target audience for that module?
Hey, were you at, when was that first introduced? Was it DNN World, the last one? It was a while ago, right? Because that module's been out for over a year, right?
Yep.
And I remember, because Sean Walker did a presentation on that,
yes.
And it wowed everybody because it's all of a sudden, hey, you don't even need Visual Studio. You can just, build, and I think it's interesting from a developer perspective. The moment I saw that, and I was like, I'm not going to use this. I mean, because, and one of the things I talk about, and I think you've probably previewed my module creator overview, right?
Yeah.
That first video set that's coming out in the next few weeks. Trying to debug with that is interesting, right? Trying to write code in that without Visual Studio, without code context or IntelliSense, right? It is interesting. I'll put it, to say the least. So, it's difficult because you're asking people to write code, in this basically web-based editor where you have no way of compiling it or knowing whether it's error-prone or even knowing whether or not you can tune the performance of it. So that's what's interesting. But so I think initially he was going after people that don't know Visual Studio. But again, if you don't know Visual Studio, you're still writing C# code. In my opinion, that almost makes it a little bit harder. I mean, you almost have to be a C# guru that you can write perfect code and not have to. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you my thoughts on that. And again, I'm not sure how well they are being able to accomplish that goal, but I think that the goal of a module like this is to try to attract or try to make it easier for someone that is coming from a PHP point of view, from other platforms. Not that they will convince that alone will convince people to switch. No, but maybe you are a PHP developer and you are pushed towards doing something with DNN, and that may be a window for you to get things started, because it's that kind of style of development.
Exactly.
But again, I'm not sure if they are able to accomplish that or not, to be honest with you. But I think that's where this is coming from. Okay.
It's funny because I just finished editing. You haven't even seen it yet, but I just finished editing the first part of my advanced razor, and I did equate, you know, that to PHP development, just in developing the view part of it.
I see.
But what I'm trying to do in the next set of videos is really to show actual developers like me who might look at this initially and go, that is not for me. There's no way I want to use it. But to show them that there actually is a use for it, you know, in a certain context, right? So again, for advanced module development, I would definitely not use it. Other than maybe when you see my video, you might figure out a way to use it in advanced development, just like I told you when pairing it with some compiled stuff where you've built out all your complex coding in the back end and you just want to expose it in the front end. And really, you're just using it as a templating device, right? Because I've been doing a lot with client-side templating, like in my client-centric video with Knockout, using Knockout or Handlebars for client-side templating. It is a nice approach to be able to put a lot of complex development in the back end, like web API services or whatever, and then in the front end, that's usually where we spend a lot of time. I don't know about you, but for me, it's painful sometimes. Mm-hmm. But when I'm working in a shop like I am now at Blue Bolt, where we have guys that are front-end developers that don't necessarily know C# very well, it's a very good methodology of getting all the complex stuff done in web APIs and in Handlebars or Knockout, you know, operations, and handing them the HTML with just the templates. You know, I don't even know if you use Handlebars before, but you got the little curly braces. It's almost like PHP or whatever, or any other type of Angular, very similar, and you say, hey, that's a token right there. Here's the tokens that you have available to you, and you know, go crazy with it. Get it to work in the design that they want. You know, so it does separate. It allows you to separate responsibilities from your back end business layer, data layer developers versus your front end developers.
Got it. Okay. So this is pretty much it. I just want to quickly mention one thing, is that as you guys can see, Scott is very much focused on the development side and the programming side, the coding side of things. And as he creates content for DNN here, that's where he is focusing. My personal focus is more on the administration, on the administration of DNN, on the use of skins, and the use of third-party modules. That's where my focus is. Please interact with us via the forums. I mean, if you have development questions, Scott always answers them. If you have other questions, I will be the one answering. But keep in mind that we are catering for both audiences. We are not, just because we have talked quite a lot here about core development, but again, administration and development goes hand on hand here. And again, you have me focus on the administration side of things. So please send your comments, send your requests, send your notes about new videos as well, because
we might even talk about you in next month.
Sure, I mean, we might even interview you. Who knows? I mean, you might even join us here. But unless that, tell us what you want to see from a development point of view, from an administration point of view, because what happens is that we come up with those topics, but sometimes maybe they are not in line with what you're expecting from the other side, you know. So bring that to our attention. You know? Bring to our attention what you want to see from an admin point of view, from a skin point of view, from a module development point of view. Let us know, because then we can adjust our pipeline of video production that we have to put your request there as well, if we see that it will be beneficial to a lot more users. So that's basically it. I'm not sure how long this took, but let's see. This is the first attempt. Give us your feedback as well. Did you like it? Did you get bored to death? Let us know, okay? And we will be here in a month to talk again. Any final comments, Scott?
See you next month.
Perfect. Bye, guys.
Bye.